Without much ado, I invite the person whose example I like to follow, and one of the reasons I came into government, Senator, the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, our Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, will be first up this morning. Please welcome her.
Morning. I keep waiting for the slightest tone of blame when Minister Morris Dixon says that I got her into this thing. But good morning, everyone. Ambassador, Permanent Secretary, my Foreign Ministry team, of course, Mr. Grant, members of the media, our young people who are here, students of IR, as well as those who we will hear about later, members or representatives of the Ministry of Education, everyone who is joining us online, welcome to this post-cabinet press briefing. I would like to provide an update on two matters under the purview of this ministry. The first, you may have seen in the press, the ministry is currently convening meetings and deliberations with our heads of missions, that is our ambassadors, our high commissioners, and consuls general from across our small but effective representation globally. And the meeting is here to ensure that all our missions are being guided by the most current policies and data and most recent developments here in country, even as we exchange best practices and circumstances that are occurring in situ, that is in the missions themselves and in the countries where they are hosted, as we navigate this world together. The deliberations are enriched by engagements with the Prime Minister, which will take place today. I had the honor and privilege of sitting with the teams yesterday, and I will assure you of the engaged, productive, and fruitful discussions that are being undertaken. The meetings are closed, of course, because they have to facilitate the most frank of discussions and on sensitive issues, but I assure you that they are going well and you are well represented in the jurisdictions where we host missions at this time. Minister Terry Long, you would have seen, had his engagements with mission heads and stakeholders in diaspora affairs, and in particular with our legacy partners who are our right and left hand as we get ready for the Diaspora Conference to take place June 14th to 16th this year. And as you would know, elections are currently underway for the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council. And I do hope that you are getting involved. We have a record 51 candidates across the jurisdictions this year, and demonstrating the highest level of interest in representation. And we therefore look forward to working with the new slate of elected members of the councils, which, as you know, are an expansion of previous mechanisms which allow for formal coordination of diaspora engagement, and a matter which is a key pillar of our foreign policy. I want to also update you on the fact that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade has been closely monitoring the fuel availability issues in Cuba. Reports indicate frequent, lengthy, and unpredictable electricity interruptions which affect the conduct of daily activities and access to food, medical supplies, and transportation, among others. I provide this update and this awareness in the context that in respect of the Jamaican population in Cuba, we have approximately over 300 students pursuing, Jamaicans pursuing students in various academic institutions across the country. 44 are part of the Government of Jamaica, Government of Cuba scholarship program, and 256 are privately funded or self-funded, as the term is used. Over the past few weeks, some of our students have been reaching out and have advised that their institutions have either closed for a period, in one case for 4 weeks, others that classes have been suspended in favor of virtual studies, which of course have challenges with internet and electricity, but they do occur. and one institution which has suspended in pending an assessment of the situation. So far as we're advised, under the scholarship program, there is one institution which has suspended its classes, and that affects 6 students under the scholarship program, but they are awaiting further advice regarding recommencement of classes. We've also been advised that 13 privately funded students, private students, have taken the decision to return home. It is very unfortunate that students are adversely affected by a program which has been working well for students across the Caribbean for some time, but we understand that the prevailing intent and the drive among the majority of the student body at this time is for their continuation of studies. So what has the ministry been doing? The ministry has been reviewing daily updates from the embassy in Havana, which remains in consultations with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Cuba and the Diplomatic Corps in Havana, and in particular the CARICOM Corps. Students have also been reaching out to seek guidance and to share their circumstances. So we've taken a few actions. Among them, we've established a WhatsApp group with approximately 320 students for direct and ongoing contact. And this is important because generally, although we are always aware of the scholarship students who travel, the private students don't usually engage with the ministry. They don't necessarily register. So now we have a full registration, a full awareness of the student body that is present. On the 5th of February, that is at a point that you would recognize that there was a certain acuteness in communication and information that was available publicly and internationally. The embassy encouraged students, contacted students and encouraged them to consult with their academic institutions on how their program might be affected by the disruptions and in the event of sudden interruption. Further, we encourage them, and we continue to encourage them, to consult with their parents or guardians on the options available for them at this time and going forward, and also for them to make preparations for emergency circumstances should that be required, for emergency departure should that be required. The embassy also took the further step of dispatching a diplomatic note to the foreign ministry in Cuba, seeking assistance, or rather guidance, in ascertaining how best students could be facilitated in the circumstances, including whether transcripts will be made available by way of policy, whether transcripts will be made available to students who seek to continue their studies elsewhere, if this is occasioned by the disruptions in availability of classes. We also, of course, dispatched from the ministry headquarters a similar request to our counterpart in Havana through the Embassy of Cuba here. An official response is pending. We're waiting on both sides, but an informal response has suggested that direct engagement with institutions is what is required for access to transcripts, but we continue to engage and await a formal response. Regarding our embassy, we continue to provide consular services to Jamaican students and visas to Cuban nationals, but we have a small team of home-based staff, that is Jamaican nationals, 3 diplomatic staff members, who are in fact quite significantly affected. And we're therefore examining how best to manage the provision of consular services, even as we ensure the welfare of our staff, which is of course part of our responsibility under the Foreign Service orders and otherwise. I wish to also make clear that on Monday, Cabinet discussed the situation and is considering what support could be provided to students under the scholarship program for the continuation of their studies should they be disrupted on a prolonged basis or disrupted in a more significant manner than current. And for those who are self-funded or privately funded, it is hoped that engagements with local institutions might be able to identify options about how they could be facilitated. But this is quite a difficult thing to navigate. There's matriculation, there are various considerations, and undoubtedly this will be a matter for significant consideration. I think it's worthy of mention that there have also been recent notifications this week, as a matter of fact, that travel to Cuba is likely to be interrupted, given that there have been formal notifications to the aviation sector that there is a suspension of the provision of jet fuel, and Air Canada, as one international carrier, or example of an international carrier, has indicated that it is suspending flights to Cuba, so that international travel may become more difficult. And in this circumstance, we again continue to ask our students to assess their personal circumstances. We understand that the disruptions vary based on location, proximity to priority areas, and the location of your institution or where they live. So circumstances vary widely. So we want them to assess their circumstances, consult with their parents or guardians, consult with their institutions, and consider their opportunities as well to return home, given that travel will become more difficult if there is not a stabilization of the fuel circumstances. We continue to monitor the situation, however, and we continue to be in touch with our students in this regard and to keep the avenue of communication open. So we will continue, of course, to provide updates as necessary. Thank you.